Hello and welcome to Pittsburgh Sportsline. It's been a huge sports week. It's been a huge sports day today. We've got a lot to talk about. Mike Migliore, Chip Hayner's not with us tonight, but we've got Sally Gallows, we've got Smoking Jim Frazier, and Al Levine, the talking machine. And as usual, we'll start out with what's on your mind. Al, what's on your mind?
What's on my mind is August 6th. We're going to be at a new venue called Levels 20, right near Pep Boys, Kentucky Fried Chicken, across from Advanced Auto Parts, right here in Bethel Park on Route 88. So make sure you show up at Levels 20. Mike, what time is that going to be? We're looking at 7:30?
Yeah, 7:30, and then we'll probably be there for a couple hours. We'll be there as long as they'll not throw us out.
Well, we're not sure how long that'll last.
Well, exactly. But if you get an opportunity, come on down and meet a great sports mind like Smoking Jim Frazier, meet Al Levine, and myself. But you get to meet the star of the show, Smoking Jim.
The main man in Bethel Park on BPTV. And we got a shout out to Where is show number 40. It was my man's birthday then, so we're still looking for that show, and that's soon to be uploaded. Just wanted to give Mike Vint a little heads up. As soon as I get it, Mike, you'll have it. I'll put it right on your Facebook page since I'm learning how to do that. Smoking Jim, you'll be right after him since he's the biggest friend from your neighborhood. But remember, Levels 20, you don't have to call in anymore, 412-831-3304 for tonight. Watch us on YouTube. You will see show 40 with Batman getting his cupcake. And we'll just get some things going there. And I want to give a couple shout outs to people that are watching FiOS throughout the city of Pittsburgh, Dormont, Baldwin, and all the surrounding areas. We're getting a lot of viewerships. I'll say hi to different people like the Maters and other people like Nate and Zepp. Thanks for watching the show. Appreciate it. Jeff and everybody else who I forgot, the guys at the Post-Gazette and the ladies at the Post-Gazette who told me they've been watching the show. They want to know, who is this Mike Migliore who's never been wrong except for that Noah comment? They're looking into that right now, so they're researching it. And they said they want to hear more insights about the NFL football from Smoking Jim Frazier. They love his insights. So there's a couple. Thanks for noticing us, and that's on my mind, Mike.
Well, thanks, Al. Burned up about 5 minutes of the show. That's good.
I got a few more comments.
Yeah, I'm sure. Any more names you want to drop? Anything like that?
Yeah, the Techno Granny, if you're watching this, you haven't made a comment in a couple weeks or so you could do that. And we'll just cut to you guys because Smoking Jim has some great insights there.
That's right. Jim, what's on your mind?
Hey, thanks, Magic Mike and Al Levine, the talking machine. You know, most people out there by now know that, my profession is NFL scout. And I love my job because I love being right. And I'm not a sports historian. You know, you won't hear me argue. I think the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time is Rocky Marciano. But, Rocky's not going to come back and fight Mike Tyson or Muhammad Ali or anybody else or Vander Holyfield. So I don't get in those discussions. I give my opinion. But what I love about NFL scouting is that it is the present and it's the future. And most scouts who are analysts are basically, if you're right 15 to 20% of the time, you can make a lot of money if you work for several NFL teams. Mel Kiper, who's probably one of the best out there, he's right about 25% of the time. He's excellent. My track record is about 97%. So the one thing that I wanted to bring in, which is just tells a little bit about my story. This week, a great wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Wallace, is holding out. I was with the Steelers 2 years ago for their draft, and in the 6th round, we almost broke some furniture and some tables because I wanted a receiver that they didn't have any room for on the team named Antonio Brown. Wow. They only drafted Antonio Brown to keep me quiet, but the proof is in the pudding. The only newspaper in the country that would put a headliner that was basically the 9th pick of the Steelers on the headline and make a prediction. You have to be good. If people can zoom in on this, this is the day after the draft.
Let's get
Not
that
even
up.
his mama could have predicted this. I said in the front page of the sports that Antonio Brown will replace Antonio Holmes in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Antonio Brown went from not being able to make the Pittsburgh Steelers team to, in his second year, not only was he a Pro Bowl player, he was also MVP of the team. And congratulations this week, Antonio Brown. Pittsburgh Steelers never tear up a contract after 2 years. They tore his contract up, gave him a 5-year, $42 million, $8 million per year for the next 5 years. Congratulations, Antonio Brown, and congratulations for me being right again.
And how much did you
call,
make on that? Hey, let me pat you on the back. What did you get the commission on that? Way to go. Wow.
Told you he knows everything there is to know about football.
You know what? It's nice being around smart people like you guys. I learn something each time I'm on the show.
Well, Sally, what's on your mind?
Well, thank you guys for having me today. My band Steeltown is actually playing a charity event on Thursday for the Duquesne Annex Fire Department, and that starts at 7:30. So hope to see everybody out there. And thanks again, guys, for having me. Should be interesting.
You're welcome. You want to say that again on how they can get a hold of you guys and what it's about?
We have a website.
That would be great.
www.steeltownhotcountryrock.com, and all the information is out there. Our schedule and any charity events we do. There's some bios about the band out there.
And in case we have a late tuning in here, just say it one more time so they can hear it, because this will be on YouTube, hopefully Thursday.
It's Steeltown Hot Country Rock this Thursday, and they're performing at Duquesne Annex Fire Hall. It supports all the firefighters at Duquesne Annex. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that out. We'll hope to help them out.
Thank you.
Here's something that's on my mind. I know we'll talk about the Steelers a little bit later, but this is maybe another NFL team. Jim, you're an NFL scout. You know everything there is to know about football. How does a guy that's 69, 74-1, and 0-3 in the playoffs rate a contract extension as a head coach? Now, I know that this guy is your favorite coach of all time, but how does Cincinnati keep re-signing this guy?
Pictures. He has photos. He has good
He
photos.
must have photos of owners and farm animals to keep getting these extensions. Jim, you know who I'm talking about. Tell me, is this guy a good coach or not?
Marvin Lewis is a bum. Eighth wonder of the world is how this guy gets another 2-year extension. I can't believe it, Magic.
Unbelievable to me too, John. I don't understand it. But speaking of things that are somewhat unbelievable, the Pirates have turned the corner again, apparently. That debacle that Eric Bedard threw yesterday was unbelievable. You know, we've talked about the Pirates before. It's unfortunate that Chip's not here tonight because I know he's a big Pirate supporter. I'm not anti-Pirates. Okay, I would love to see my home team do great. The only team around here that I'd like to see lose is the Steelers. But I'd love to see the Penguins win. I'd love to see the Pirates win. But Clint Hurdle, I don't know. I said this many times before. The guy, he might be a good motivator. He might be a good manager, I guess. But he is very inept at handling his pitchers. Anyway, so Eric Bedard gives up 9 runs in 4 innings. How do you let a guy stay in the game long enough to give up 9 runs?
What about A.J. Burnett with 12, wasn't it? Didn't he give up like 12 runs in that one game when he first come back? He had a 100 pitch count. They left him in there. He looked like a true piece of meat, Emperor. And that's what he did to this guy. Bedard, he left him out to dry. I agree with you on that.
Well, I'll tell you, first off,
he shouldn't have been in that long.
There's a lot of talk about the Pirates. We can get to their moves that they've made here recently. Pretty good. The Pirates, actually, they've gone 6-4 in their last 10 games, and that's not real bad, except that the Cincinnati Reds have gone 9-1, and they've started to open up the gap. The Pirates' starting pitching is horrible, and they took. I mean, everybody talks about Kevin Correa. If you listen to the talk shows and stuff, Kevin Correa is a whiner, and he's a locker room cancer and whatever. I'm no Kevin Correa fan, all right? But he's the only Pirate pitcher that's won his last 6 starts. So when they bring in Wandy Ramirez, instead of sending down Bedard or sending Bedard or Karstens or whatever to the bullpen, they send the guy that's won his last 6 starts to the bullpen, and they continue with Karsten and Bedard, who has been horrible. He's been terrible except for like his first couple of starts, and he's what, like 5-10 or something like that. You can't keep sending this guy out there, and and now even James McDonald, who was like lights out before the All-Star break, has basically fallen apart. He's had not a good start since the All-Star break. So I think that right there is their big problem. And they brought in Wandy Ramirez from Houston. Guess we'll have to wait and see how he does. He's had good seasons in the past. His first start with the Pirates, he won. It wasn't a great start, but he did enough to win the game. So we'll have to see how he pans out.
I got a lot more on those Pirates for the chipper. I'm still on the bandwagon here with the Buccos. Clint Hurdle's managing from his gut. We're 14 games over 500. If you told me that we'd be 14 games over 500, what's this, the last day of July? That's amazing in itself. So I'm on the bandwagon. I don't agree with all of his calls. That's why we're all opinionated. 412-831-3304. Call and give us your opinion. But anyhow, getting back to the Pirates, first of all, Correa has every reason. They probably didn't even tell him he was going to get demoted till he heard about it through the news media. And that's another thing that'll get you upset, and it shows me a guy's a competitor. I like that about him. He's just been a mediocre pitcher over his career, but he's done well lately. McDonald, who never went this amount of innings at this time of year, he looks tired or something's wrong with his technique and mechanics, they keep saying. Well, demote him for a little bit. Give him a rest. Maybe he needs that. Maybe he'll come back and he'll be upset like Correa. Wouldn't that be nice? He'll come out and start throwing some pitches over the plate instead of missing everything. I mean, we can tweak and complain all of this, but I'm happy I'm losing $1 to Chip because they're 14 games over 500. I mean, I'm actually happy. So I am a Pirate fan. I don't care what Mike Vince says about me. I am a Bucco fan.
Well, Al, you know what? If they continue to play the way they have since the All-Star game, you might want to go double or nothing because that's the best dollar you have right there.
Hold it.
They are going to, if they do not change the way that they're playing, they're going to drop under 500 fast.
I'll take 6-4 every 10-game stretch. If they do 6-4, they have 60 games left. You guys do the math for me because I'm not trying to figure it out, but that's a winning record. All we have to do is make the playoffs. You got one extra wild card. All you have to do then is win one game. I'm hopeful. Mike, I think we're going to win that game, at least in the wild card, even if we start dropping here. Cincinnati can't win 10 in a row all the time or 9-1, whatever they're doing. That's not going to happen. So we made a few moves. We'll talk about that a little later. And I think they're finally trying to get over the hump here. So I wish them luck.
Well, they did make some moves yesterday and today. A good move that they made, I believe a good move, they traded Brad Leakin to the Toronto Blue Jays for Travis Snyder, left fielder. He's hitting .235. He's got 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, but that's only over a span of 8 games. He was brought in young, had a couple of good seasons, then they sent him back down, and now they brought him up not too long ago this year. He was having like I said, decent 8 games for Toronto. Pirates traded Brad Lincoln for him. Brad Lincoln had been pitching pretty good in relief, but they've got a ton of relief pitchers. I think this is a good move. They'll be able to put him in the outfield with McCutchen in center field and with Starling Marte in right field, and I think that's a pretty good outfield right there. Presley can, I don't know, he'll probably be a bench player, come in to pinch hit, maybe every once in a while get a game here and there in the outfield. So I think that's a pretty good move for the Pirates. But then they turned around and they took Casey McGee and they traded him to the Yankees for Chad Qualls. Chad Qualls is a relief pitcher, a 4.9 ERA. The Pirates were loaded with relief pitchers. I don't know what that move was about, unless they felt like they had to try to replace Brad Lincoln. I don't think that was necessary. Like I said, they're loaded with relief pitchers. Here's something that I really don't understand. The story was that Casey McGee was very upset and was in tears about being traded away from the Pirates. To the first place Yankees, who are about 60 games over 500 right now and will probably play in the World Series.
Where was that reported, Mike?
That was on our favorite radio station.
Who's a fan of that?
You're the
Who's a fan of that?
Anyway, so
pardon me, just checking.
So,
I know we can't say that.
Casey, it sucks you won't be able to do this. But the Yankees, they're pretty successful. You might want to pick up a couple of rings while you're there.
Again, the Yankees are helping us out. At least they gave us A.J. Burnett, and they took Casey McGee while he's doing well. So,
and another move they made, they traded minor league player for first baseman Gabby Sanchez. And I think that's also not too bad a move, even though Sanchez is hitting about 202, so he'll fit right into our lineup. But it'll be a first baseman that is a first baseman that they can platoon with Garrett Jones, when they need to. Although Jones has been hitting left-handed pitchers almost as well as right-handed pitchers this year, still they have that extra first baseman, and they could always alternate them. So they made a couple moves that are going to help them out. They're going to improve the team a little bit. They didn't make any, bring in the big name players like Justin Upton or Victorino. Everybody talked about Victorino. Hunter Pence, first, Philadelphia wanted a ton for Hunter Pence. They wanted a couple of the minor league pitchers that the Pirates are very big on. And on top of that, Pence has a $14 million a year contract. And to be honest, he's not really worth that. Philadelphia was overpaying him a lot. I think it was a good move on the Pirates to pass on Pence. Also think it was a good move on the Pirates to pass on Victorino, since he would have been a rental player. His contract is up at the end of the year, and there is no way they'll be able to re-sign him. So I think what they did today, while it's not going to make them World Series contenders, it improves the team a little bit, at least gives them a chance to improve a little bit. So I'm not feeling too bad on that.
I'm happy Greg Ritchie, since we found out that's the hitting coach, he has another 200 player, which he can keep him above the Mendoza line, as we've all learned. So maybe he can get up to the 230s or so and maybe hit a dozen home runs. That would be nice. And what I found out over the years is talking to some of these experts, like guys on the show, when you have a team that's under 500, if you make some of these trades, it doesn't really help you. They're already over 500, so they're trying to stabilize this team so they don't fall apart, like we're getting some predictions here. And I think it'll help them out. I'm a firm believer that somehow their stars have all lined up, and it looks like they're going to have a winning record this year.
Well, one thing that they did need, and they did not address, at least through trades, was they definitely need starting pitching. So in order to fix that, I guess, they sent Drew Sutton back down to the minors, and they called up Daniel McCutchen.
I just heard that before I come in. And do you know why? Did you hear the logic on why they brought him up?
I don't think there could be any logic.
You'll love this logic. I just happened to catch Neil Huntington. I was on a mission to get soda pop, Coca-Cola, that was cold. So I had to listen to, I don't know, what's that, fan show or something? And they interviewed Huntington. And he said there's this other young pitcher. He had pitched the night before and threw 45 pitches. So McCutchen, luckily, he only pitched 18 balls, so that's why he's here. 18 pitches, so he was able to be a little more fresh when he come to the Bucks. And that's from Neil Huntington.
Oh, he's not starting today.
Well, he's a reliever, from what he said.
Yeah, well, he left here.
I'm telling you the quotes.
Pitcher,
I happen to hear that on my journeys here through Bethel Park.
Okay. Well, anyway, I don't think that Daniel McCutchen is what the Pirates are looking for. something has to happen. I don't know if they're going to maybe reach down and pull up Garrett Cole or Jamison Tylon. Personally, I think that would not be a bad idea. I'm not sure that Tylon's the answer, but Garrett Cole is the real deal. Would love to see him up here to throw a few balls, get him a chance to pitch against Major League pitching, and see what he can do. I don't prescribe to the theory that if you bring them up too early, you're ruining them. I think you bring them up early, you get them some experience, and if they can't handle it yet, they go back down. But at least they have an idea what they're in for when they come back up.
Hey, another minor league report for you. Tabita's hitting .350 in the minor leagues. He's lighting them up. They sent him down, and he's earning his millions of dollars in the minor leagues. So there's hope for him.
That's great. He probably also has noticed the difference between minor league and major league pitching. So I think
there's no report from him officially on what he thinks of it. Yeah. But the food's not as good, and the room service is definitely not as good. And that bus ride, it's a little rough there going city to city.
He has to carry his own bags down there too.
But he is making millions doing that. So imagine that.
So anyway, that's what's up with the Pirates. A really rough start of this series against the Cubs. The Cubs traded their entire team away. In fact, they were pulling people out of the game because they had just got traded during the game. So who knows? Maybe they don't have much left, and maybe the Pirates can get past them on these next two games, and then they go to Cincinnati. And yeah, I would love to see the Pirates do well there, but I think it's going to be ugly when they get to Cincinnati. All that said, also the Steelers have come back to camp. I know Sally's a big Steelers fan, and well, Jim's Jim. So Sally, what do you think? What's going on with the Steelers in camp?
Well, I guess we're still waiting for Wallace to come to camp. As you said, Antonio Brown just signed a nice big contract deal, so I'm excited about that. Not too excited about Wallace not being at camp yet, but I think he'll be there, and everything's going to work out fine, and we're going to have a winning season this year.
What do they got for a running back?
One thing at a time here.
Yeah, we're talking about
Sally's
receivers right now.
She just filled in here. So too many questions right off the bat. Let her warm up to this show.
Oh, excuse me.
We're still on the receivers talk. We're not talking
okay.
This is a segment here. This is receiver part of the show.
Okay, my mistake.
How did you miss that email?
I didn't get any email.
Oh, okay. Continue then. You're doing excellent here.
Well, thank you.
Any other insights on the receiving core?
Not receiving core, no.
Okay. Mike, how's your question with the running backs?
I don't know. The running backs, I guess, if Mendenhall's not playing, who is? Jim?
Well, just to go back a little bit, what Sally was saying, the one thing about me is I hate to see these guys who don't realize the opportunity that they have. We talked about many a times that I felt that Mike Wallace was doing himself a disservice by holding out. I'm usually all for guys trying to get him. The Steelers are ripping him off at $2.7 million a year for a Pro Bowler. But, I felt that Mike Wallace should have been in and having a great season this year. But just to go back a few years, the Steelers had a one-trick pony as a running back named Willie Parker. And the one thing that I always liked about Willie Parker, even though I used to call him Seed Biscuit because of his tunnel vision, was that Willie Parker was a hard worker. He used to come in early in the morning or late night and train. And Willie Parker got to the point where he was really disgusted with the Steelers when they drafted Mendenhall. He was starting to run around with his posse, and they was blowing his head up, making him think he was better than he is. And I had a long talk with Willie Parker, and he was making $3 million a year with the Steelers. Mike Tomlin wanted him back for another year. He wouldn't return Mike Tomlin's phone calls, and I told Willie Parker, I says, Willie, you really need to stick with the Steelers like Jerome Bettis did. They love you here. You got a lot of speed. You got a nickname, Fast Willie Parker, and don't forget that you were a good running back for North Carolina, but you set the oak for 4 straight years, But he left anyway, went to Washington Redskins. I predicted he would get cut. He lasted about 3 weeks and never got a job again. But things happened good for Willie Parker. He resurfaced this week. He got a job. He's the assistant football coach at West Virginia Wesleyan. Congratulations, Willie Parker.
What a story, Smoking Jim. I wondered where you were going with that. Excellent.
About $500 a month and all the meals you can eat.
For free.
But right now, the Steelers are going with a kid from Bowie State, the only player in Bowie State history to make the National Football League Red Zone Redmen. They also wanted to, parlay that with Clay, a running back from Wisconsin, and Dwyer. But right now, the Steelers are hoping that 180-pound Rainey from Florida can come in and do some magic at the running back position. But like you said, Magic Mike, look for Big Ben to put it up about 60 times a game.
Well, I think, first off, I also, every once in a while, listen to that station, and I heard something that I thought was just, I don't know, it made me laugh. I nearly wrecked my car. I laughed so hard. Guy called in and said that Mike Wallace should sign right now because the Steelers always take care of their players. And I was reminded of how they took care of Terry Bradshaw, Franco Harris, and on until just recently Hines Ward. Okay, the Steelers don't take care of their players, and they really didn't take care of Mike Wallace this year. They gave him a contract offer of $2.7 million to keep him as a restricted free agent so that nobody else in the league would even think about signing him. Mike Wallace will make the money. Some team will overpay him when they get a chance, but no team has given up a first-round draft pick to do it. And they're especially not giving it to the Steelers if they're in that division. So they put this $2.7 million on him, so he has to come back and play a year for that. And if his agent was smart, they would have already signed, because eventually he is going to have to come back, and he's going to play for that, because if he holds out the entire year, then he loses a year on his contract, and they'll only have to give him a $2.7 million offer for the following year. Right. What's going to happen is he's going to eventually, somebody's going to get to him that makes some sense, and he's going to come back in and he's going to play. And he's going to think that because he plays this year for $2.7 million, that next year he's going to be an unrestricted free agent and he's going to make a lot of money. Well, next year when he is an unrestricted free agent, the Steelers are going to put a franchise tag on him, and he's going to be stuck here anyway. And now because Antonio Brown got all that money, they're not going to be able to pay Wallace all that much. So, he's the big loser in all of this. What he should have done is come back in, play for his $2.7 million, keep his mouth shut, do well, and hope that the Steelers don't put the franchise tag on him. But that's the way they play the game. That's what they're going to do.
It just sounds like a chess match when you have agents. You got posses blowing up your ego, and that's what happens. The Steelers know what they're doing. They have their plan, and they put it out there. And like Mike said, and Smoke and Jim have said, they basically put him in a little corner here, and he looks like a bad guy. Like you said, for $2.7 million, you're just set for life right now, just with that contract. Why not take it and come back? All this strategy and making chess moves, it's not going to get you anything more this year. Sure doesn't look like it, and they need him in there. They need somebody to stretch the field, and maybe he can catch the bubble screen pass, Smoking Jim. What do you think? We need somebody there. I'm sure they have some plans there. Todd couldn't have thrown that out of the playbook.
Well, if I was Mike Wallace's agent, what I would do, and Magic Mike made reference to it, I don't think that his agent has a brain in his head. But if I was Mike Wallace's agent, what I would do is hold him out till game 11. All you have to do is play 6 games, and it counts as another year. So I would come in at game 11. Now that 2.7 is prorated, so you would only get 6/16 of that money. But I would play and become and be franchised the next year. Makes no sense for him to sit out all this time because he was unhappy with the 2.7, and then come in and watch a guy who's younger than him make $8 million a year as the other receiver. If he really wants to do something, if he's really serious about this stance, if he's really unhappy and feels disrespected with the $2.7 million, which all of us would love, then I would sit out till game 11, come in game 11, and you would either be unrestricted free agent at the end of the season, or the Steelers would have to franchise you, and you would make $9 million or $10 million the following year.
Well, last year they made the news talking about all their money nicknames, where Mike Wallace was fast money and Antonio Brown was young money, and well, now this year Mike Wallace is no money and Antonio Brown is Mike's money, because that's where it went.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you'll find out. You don't play, you don't get paid. But yeah, absolutely. He can maybe hold out a few games or whatever. The only thing is it kind of makes him look bad, but it doesn't matter. If he ever is able to hit an unrestricted free agency on a free market, he will get paid. There will be some team out there that will give him $9 or $10 million a year, because he is fast. He does have good hands. He kind of disappears halfway through the season, and definitely in the playoffs. But there are teams out there that will put that money on him. Right now, maybe Indianapolis would love to have somebody from Manning to throw to. San Francisco might not be a bad choice for him. And apparently, the Washington Redskins have never had a salary cap. They might go ahead and throw a bunch of money at him for no reason whatsoever. But there are places out there, there are teams out there that will overpay him. So I don't think that it's so wrong for him to be upset about it was. And one thing that I really don't understand is how people talk about he's holding out and he's doing this. Guy doesn't have a contract. Right. I would never show up to training camp without a contract, because if he walks on that field and gets hurt, do you think the Steelers are going to say, oh, well, he's a good guy, we'll take care of him? No.
And where's Lil Wayne from? I think he's from New Orleans, so New Orleans can use some fast money down there. But I tell you what, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the one thing about them right now is, everybody get on Michael Vick for killing dogs, and he spent time in jail for that. But the Steelers got a lot of dogs in their training camp right now. Everybody's on the pup list. They got about 10, 12 players that aren't practicing. The bum Max Starks is on the pup list. James Harrison's on the pup list. Yeah, Trey Essex just got hurt the other day ago. He's on the pup list.
What about Big Casey?
Casey Hampton lives and dies on the pup list.
He's not running this year.
Oh, my goodness. So they got about 10 or 12 players. The collective bargaining has already made NFL practices so easy. You get one day off a week, you can't hit. Oh, my goodness. There's no gut check, and all these guys are injured. I think it's going to be a bad time for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Congratulations again to Mike Tomlin, who's making about $7 million a year as the head coach. So I know he's very, very happy. But the Pittsburgh Steelers is in big trouble this year. A lot of their players are getting old, and a lot of their players are already injured.
And a lot of them are gone.
Yeah.
Right? They got the new money coming up. New short money. They got a lot of that coming around.
Can you put some rap in your rock and roll?
Can't find it.
What about a prediction, Sally? What are they going to do this year?
I'm saying they're going all the way to the Super Bowl. I have faith in my Steelers.
Who's going to buy their tickets? So what do you think? You, honest to God, you think that the Steelers can make the playoffs?
Yes, I do.
And go to the Super Bowl?
Yes, I do. You want to put a bet on this?
Whoa!
Yeah.
You're welcome back anytime, Sally.
I will bet my virginity that that's not going to happen.
Too late. There's a rumor. It's too late. He's a Navy man. He stopped in every port. Now, you can't bet that, Sally. Come on. Get $1 at least off it.
But one thing, we always talk about, not to change the subject from the Steelers, I'm sure we'll get back to Southwestern Pennsylvania sports talk, but the one thing that I've always said, I'm not a fan of Dave Wannstedt. I don't think Dave Wannstedt ever was, his record proves he got fired in 3 places as a head coach. But the one thing that I always liked about the University of Pittsburgh with Dave Wannstedt, and Darrelle Revis is living proof that Dave Wannstedt is so connected in the National Football League that one phone call from Dave Wannstedt can get you paid. Darrelle Revis got an island named after him who had a pretty mediocre career at Pitt, went in the first round because Dave Wannstedt made a phone call and said, this guy's legit. Walt Harris makes that same phone call. General managers and owners don't answer the call. But Dave Wanstead got so much respect. Right now, there's a guy that played for the University of Pittsburgh a few years ago named Dorian Dickerson.
Yeah.
You guys remember that name? Dave Wanstead made one call to the Buffalo Bills. Dorian Dickerson was unemployed. They brought him in, and now not only do they like him, not only is he going to make the team, but he is going. They're putting a package in for him every game because they believe he's a mismatch and a weapon in the passing game. So congratulations to Dorian Dickerson. Congratulations to Dave Wanstead.
Well, wasn't that a problem with where to play him? I remember him playing. He's a hell of an athlete and has some speed too, and pretty good hands, right?
Yeah, Dorian Dickerson is.
They couldn't fit him in there.
Well, he was always a guy that was better in diapers than he was in pads. So that was the whole thing. You know, this guy went to the combines and tore the roof off of it. He ran fast, 4.340, could jump out of the roof. You know, so his production on the field didn't match his athleticism off the field. That's why a guy like a Mike Wallace is so sought after, because there's a lot of track guys out here, but they don't have that same football speed. Mike Wallace is just as fast in football equipment as he is in diapers, and that makes a guy, you know, so sought after because the guy can just flat out fly. Wow. And those are the things that you can't coach. I like in football, I look at guys that have things that you can't coach. You can't coach height, you can't coach speed, and when those guys have something like that, they're a mismatch for the opposition. So.
Well, what do you think about part of the rules that they have to wear hip pads and knee pads now?
Well, that's not going. Hip pads and knee pads are not going to slow you down.
Won't that slow down a couple of these guys because they believe they're faster taking them off?
Well, one thing about those guys, if they were playing against me, they all would wear hip pads and knee pads because I'd be cutting you coming out of the tunnel. You know what I mean? I would. You know, you think that Hines Ward is, blindsiding people. I'm cutting you at the knees if I see you don't have no knee pads on. I have no problem with that.
Come on, Smokin' Jim. You're a nice guy.
I think that these guys are holding hands with other teams and singing Kumbaya instead of getting after it. I tell you what, if you look at the Denver Broncos, if you study film like I do, some of the greatest offensive line play you ever want to see in modern day football was by the Denver Broncos. Their offensive line never, ever interviewed. These guys wouldn't even say their name and what college they went to on Monday Night Football. But when the whistle blew, every defensive lineman was scared because they was cutting you, they was trapping you, they were trying to end your career, and that opened up big holes for Terrell Davis. If you remember, they went about 8 years in a row with different running backs gaining 1,000 yards. Now, back in the day, you look back in the 70s, the Pittsburgh Steelers had that same mentality on their offensive line. A lot of those guys were no names. I mean, Mike Webster, yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. They couldn't keep him out. But all those guys on the offensive line were good, and I tell you what, you know, they'll put you in the hospital. If you come in running around too high, they take you right out of there, and that's what I love.
Well, I can attest that Jim was a great high school football player, and he played for Pete Annamarino, and I think Pete taught people to cut the knees.
What school is he from?
Most of the way Gateway.
It usually gets mentioned in the same breath. Was he born there?
No, actually, I believe he was recruited from Penn Hills.
Just checking, because we do have to bring it up each football season. Because there are rumors that he was recruited to show up once in a while.
But I hate to call anyone a dirty player, because I was on the kickoff return coverage team, and anytime somebody would put their hand up for a fair catch, you guaranteed that was a 15-yard penalty. I used to get hungry over that.
Mike, you never could read sign language.
I thought they were kumbaya.
I thought he was waving to his parents. That offended me in the middle of the game.
And you didn't play for Gateway, I assume.
Absolutely not.
Okay, just checking with you.
No.
Going back in history there. What's your alma mater there?
I lived too close to Monroeville to play for Gateway.
Okay.
I was on the border.
In other words, that's a shout out to Penn Hills and the Mike Migliore career. And if you're listening out there, you know to call in 831. I don't remember the rest. Give us a call. I got to do that once in a while. Thanks for those insights, fellas. Sally, what team did you play football for?
I was in the band.
And what band was
Peters
that?
Township High School.
Oh, you're right
Tell
out
us
here.
about some days at band camp.
Oh, God. Not on television. Hi, Mom.
No more truth telling on this show. Turn the lights down here. They're too bright in here. Look, there's no color at this end. What happened? Thanks for the new lights, BPTV. We appreciate it.
But the Pittsburgh Steelers did something dirty again.
What?
You know, I tell you what, I believe that if you're going to give somebody a free agent a trial, they should get an honest trial. They should be allowed to come to camp and at least go through one preseason game. We mentioned West Lyons last week. I cut 6'8", 260-pound guy, Woodland Hills. A young man that I watched play in high school that's from South Park, took South Park to their only WPIL championship, went on to Michigan State as a quarterback, ended up getting hurt, transferred to Duquesne, and set some records as a wide receiver. He's a almost 6'6" guy. Mismatch. Connor Dixon was brought in as a free agent with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and looks like a little reverse discrimination, I think. He's a white wide receiver.
Whoa,
they got
coming
rid
from
of him.
Smoking Jim.
They got rid of him prior to. I mean, you look at the National Football League, and it's a lot of that. There's not a white cornerback in the entire National Football League. You mean to tell me there's not a white man on the planet that can play cornerback? So it's a lot of reverse discrimination in sports, especially football. And Connor Dixon just got a job as the assistant coach at his alma mater, Duquesne University. So I think it's a shame. The only reason I'm so hard on that is because these guys could have signed with one of the 32 teams in the National Football League. So once you sign with a team, you're committed to that team, and then when they cut you this late in the game, you're not going to get picked up by anybody else. So it's too bad, because I thought Connor Dixon and could have been like one of my favorite receivers, the Steelers in all time. Weegee Thompson, the 6'8" receiver. He got those kind of skills, but we'll never know.
Another insight from Smoking Jim in the NFL scouting world. We appreciate those insights. I know I do. Thank you. Hey, can we switch gears to the Olympics? Because there is a guy that set a record that's a new all-time record, and Smoking Jim's business partner gave me a little text on that. We can't be remiss with the Olympics. It's a lot of action there, and Michael Phelps set the record with 19 medals, and that's an all-time record that beats anybody and everybody that had medals in totals of 17, 18 medals. He's the champ now in that area.
Now it's 19 gold medals. Not just 19 medals, 19 gold medals.
He got a silver and a bronze, the last two medals that he got. So, I mean, that's what I saw on some of our reliable initial stations, ESPN.
No, not reliable. Jim,
Well,
ESPN.
I was being a little sarcastic for you, ladies and gentlemen, but that's what they reported. He got a gold in one of the relays, and he got a bronze in.
Well, he got a gold today that put him over the top. Michael Phelps. They talked a lot about him coming up recently, the last couple of weeks, because he's not been winning everything like he did before. It's 4 years later, right? People get older. And swimming's a hard sport. It's like I bet Mark Spitz wouldn't do all that well today either. And Johnny Wasmo, I think, is
dead. Did you hear the comments, Mike, that they said he's not in shape? Did you see him?
Yeah.
I don't think he even has any body fat. He's in shape. It's other people have the talent, and they are a little bit younger. So just like you said, you do get beat.
Whose record did he beat? Do we know?
I think it was a lady that had the most medals. So I don't think it began with an L or something. You might know that.
It wasn't me.
Well, you said you did the band. But
I was track.
We
I
didn't
was
know.
track too.
We asked what sport. Come on now, Sally.
I was thinking musical.
How's the basketball team doing?
who's been.
The Olympic basketball
Season's
team.
over.
I know that LeBron James believes that they could have beat the Dream Team. Said it again. I don't think they could beat the Dream Team today. I mean, seriously, I know the guys are a little bit older, but that particular Olympic team was some of the greatest basketball players that ever played. I mean, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Michael Jordan. That was a team like you'll never see again, and I don't think that this current crop of bums could. I mean, this current team could beat them. Jim, am I wrong?
I agree with you, Magic Mike, as I normally do, and I boycotted the Dream Team. I boycotted these professionals. I don't know why we have to send our professionals. What's wrong with sending our amateurs? Some of these guys, I mean, we don't have to win everything. Our amateurs won the Olympics for years. They lose one Olympics, and all of a sudden we got to beat them up with Charles Barkley beating up one of them brothers skinny brothers from Africa, throwing elbows and whatnot. And a lot of guys who were amateurs got to be household names because of the Olympics. I mean, even in boxing and everything else, that's how you make a name for yourself by the Olympics. And I don't think I never approved of sending over our professionals to do the job.
Where can I vote you in to be the emperor of the Olympics committee there and change these rules? We need you out there and have your humble assistant Mike Migliore with you. Because I agree with you. Who cares? These guys are pros. Let these kids play before they become pros.
But from a marketing standpoint, you can't deny it. The Dream Team, their jerseys began to sell all across the world. Merchandising and advertising in basketball went through the roof, and other countries improved a whole great deal, and that opened up an opportunity for the NBA to draft guys from other countries, and they've been doing a great job of doing that.
One of the things that led to the Dream Team and allowing professional athletes to play another sport that doesn't get a lot of coverage, but professional tennis players play in the Olympics also. The Williams sisters are doing pretty good. They're moving up through the ranks. They're getting towards the medal rounds. But what led up to that was the fact that the Russians and East Germans and teams like that, or countries like that, were sending their but all their athletes were in the military. When I was in the Navy, I was an operations specialist. When guys like Tretiak in the Soviet Union, when he was in the Army, he was a goalie. There were people that their job in the Army was shooting guard or center. Right. So that's that's pretty much what led to it. I mean, they were paid basically to be in the Army, but to play their sport. They were housed, they were fed, they were paid, and that was what their job was, to be a basketball player in the Army. But since it wasn't actually a professional basketball team, they could go ahead and play in the Olympics. And this kind of evened the field out a little bit.
Well, Mike, the other thing that you forget is, since they were in the Army, when these teams lost, you never saw them again. Those players didn't come back 4 years later. They just were gone. And I don't know where at in Russia, Siberia, or wherever they went. But their families also were housed in free housing facilities, and they may have not been there anymore after their son lost or whatever. So when you have certain threats like that and your back's against the wall, you might be able to perform a little better. And plus, when you have those enhancing type of drugs that's in your meals, maybe you do develop a little man-like character when you're swimming in the women's events. And the East Germans did that and got caught. So you had a lot of inequities. And I still think with the pool that we have of players and people, they didn't have to go to that extreme, and we still would have won our fair share of medals and even beat them.
The Chinese have this girl swimmer that I guess won a gold medal, and now there's like accusations of not only drugging, but genetic engineering. I mean, what would they do? Give her gills?
Well, what age was she too? Mike, the other thing is, where's a birth certificate when you have billions of people there? They didn't even know if she really had a birth certificate and was the age that she said. So that's another question you had. You had other things in other sports, all over. Look at our Little League programs from all over the world where kids were older. Now there's some problems with Chinese and others. They can't verify their age. So what are they giving them, and how old are they? So, there's all kind of things out there. At least these are to have all that kumbaya that Smoking Jim was talking about. Why can't we all get along all over the world, right? So what if they beat us with professionals, genetic engineering, enhancements, and drugs? And so what if they train 24/7 or their family dies? So, go USA.
That might be a slight exaggeration. I think they tore the wall down, but who knows? Maybe you're right. I'd like to move on to the NHL, though. A few years ago, the NHL lost an entire season to a work stoppage. And people went on and on about how terrible that is. To be honest, I don't think it was all that bad, because when it came back, all teams pretty much had a chance to be competitive. Whereas before it, there were a handful of teams that had the money to be competitive every year. Now things have kind of evened out. But the collective bargaining agreement has expired. And now they have to go through all of this again. And what I have here is the owners' recommendations for what they want. This is what the owners want in the new collective bargaining agreement. They want to change the players' share of the revenues. Okay, they want the players' share of the revenues to drop from 57% to 46%.
Wow.
They want to extend the entry-level contract from 3 years to 5 years. They want a player to have to be in the league for 10 years before they can become an unrestricted free agent.
Wow.
And they want each year of your contract to be the same, so that you can't top load it or bottom load it or whatever. This is what the owners want in the new collective bargaining agreement. And you know what? If they don't change their minds, this is the NHL season coming up, because there is no way that the players are going to go for any of that. They're not going to go for half of that. They're not going to go for even one of that. You got to be out of your mind if that's what you're going to bring to the players' union and say this is what they want. Yet that is what they did. So goodbye, NHL.
Well, there's me being an ex-union negotiator. When I see something like that, cooler heads must prevail. Because look at the numbers Mike was talking about, 57, 46. Split the difference. You're at about 51% for the players. So they know if it's 52, they'll cut a deal. They save 5%. Look at the years. There's no way. What's the average playing career of an NHL player? 3 years maybe, 4 years. They know they can't get 10. This is just the posturing that they do. That's why they pay these lawyers millions of dollars. So they got their little dog and pony show for the next few months. And most likely there will be a strike or a lockout. That's what they're going to try to do.
Well, they may be able to get it. I mean, you look at the best player in hockey, Sidney Crosby. He's been playing for $8.7 million a year for forever.
But he's lucky. That's his lucky number. Why change your luck now?
My only question with hockey, and I'm a big hockey fan as well, in basketball, a lot of people always talk about, will there ever be another Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan's regarded by a lot of people. Me and Magic Mike knows that Wilt Chamberlain was the greatest of all time, but most people think that it's Michael Jordan. In hockey, will there ever be another Wayne Gretzky? Will there ever be another great one?
Well, I think you had a guy close, Mario Lemieux. And what about your man, Jaromir Jagr? Unless you're just blowing a little smoke here. I think Lemieux would have been better than Gretzky with the caliber of players that he had at the time if he had his health and didn't get injured. There's a guy that could smoke cigarettes and play hockey like he did and was outstanding. Look at how he scored his first game and everywhere else. Look at how he come back from leukemia. Look how he come back from severe back injuries where he had the trainer or trainers tie both of his skates. Couldn't put them on himself.
And like you said, would have been, so that's a no from you. But
thank you.
As far as anybody being
exactly.
as great as Gretzky.
Thank you.
How about you, Magic? Is there a would have been down there for you?
No, not at all. I absolutely believe that Mario Lemieux was a superior player to Gretzky then and probably would be now.
He said probably.
I mean, Gretzky, no, I said probably now, but he was definitely better then. Right? All you have to do is watch them play.
I'm just having some
now,
fun.
Gretzky, he put up a lot of points, but he had a pretty good supporting cast for his entire career. Mario Lemieux, again, he didn't put up the numbers. He did have some injuries and stuff like that. But all you have to do is watch them play the game, and there's nothing like what Lemieux did, and there's never been, there hasn't been since. You see guys and Yager was a great player.
Yes, he was.
Sidney Crosby puts on a show. There are a lot of guys that are very good. I think of Jenny Malkin as the best player in the league right now. And they all put on a nice show. But you'll never, ever see goals like Lemieux scored. On his back, people pulling him down. He's still taking shots, and he would power through people. I think he was the best ever.
How many cups did Gretzky win?
Gretzky won 4.
More than that.
4. No.
Like 6, wasn't it?
No.
I thought maybe 5.
Yeah, after he left, they still won them because the guy who really won them, Mark Messier, was still there.
Bingo.
But when they sent him to Los Angeles to improve that team,
they won this year.
I think Gretzky's not playing for them anymore.
Or
but I can check the roster and get back to you next week.
What an interesting hockey discussion. Sally, do you want to add some more nonsense?
Now, let me. You know what? Let me go ahead and put out this disclaimer, okay? Jim likes to start the show, and things are winding down, so he wanted to kind of liven it back up a bit. But he doesn't think that Ray Lewis is the best football player of all time, and he doesn't think that Wayne Gretzky's the best football player of all time. He just doesn't know you don't know he thinks that. So I'm helping you out there.
Whoa, Smoking Jim, you pulled a fast one on us again. But I still named the same guy.
Monday the 6th, Level 20 Lounge. Next week here on Tuesday, Pittsburgh Sportsline. Stop back in, check us out. I'm Mike McGlory, Sally Gallis, thanks for showing up. Smoking Jim Frazier, telling people all that stuff. And Al Levine, the talking machine. It's been a great show, guys. Anything else on your minds?
Give me directions to Monday show.
Right down Route 88. When you look for Advanced Auto Parts on the right, Level 20's on the quarter. If you see Pep Boys, go to Level 20. Look for Colin and Tracy. They'll be waving you in.
HBO, help a brother out.
What's your vehicle? What vehicle will you be?
If you didn't have to run right after the show, I'd show you where it's at.
You're going to get escorted out of the town. Thanks, folks.
Yep, see you next week.
Watch Steel City Sports World tomorrow night with Magic Mike, Luke, everybody.
Luther Dupree. Kelly Russell, and
Smoking Jim Frazier.
Jim Frazier.
I'm doing a little PR for them.
Thanks.